going on, everybody on YouTube? Steve again with Raiken Profit over at RaikenProfit.com. Come back to you with another exclusive video just for you. And in today's video, I want to talk about how to write your first book. But not only how to write your first book yourself, but not having to outsource it. I know I've talked a lot about Kindle publishing and virtual assistants and outsourcing. And I want to tell you right now that that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother ballpark. Right now in this video, we're going to talk about how you can write your own book and actually do it yourself. And I want to give you guys some hands-on tips. I got about 5 tips for you to be able to write your first book and just kind of the whole process that I've gone through. As you guys know, or if you don't know, I've written quite a few books myself. 101 killer clothing brands, 102 killer clothing brands, blazing profits, and I've done some other stuff as well, blogging and whatnot. So I've definitely got some good experience writing, and I want to give you guys these tips. So without further ado, if you're ready, are you ready? Let me know. You ready? Let's dive into this video. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do when you're, sitting down, you're thinking to yourself, I want to write a book. What should I write the book about? The first tip, the first thing you want to do is figure out how you can solve a problem for somebody. Especially if you're writing nonfiction or you're writing books to help people, you want to make sure that you're actually finding a solution and offering a solution to their problem. So think about your expertise, think about your specialty, think about what you can offer to somebody. And don't say to yourself, I'm not an expert, I can't offer value, I don't know what I would write a book on. Trust me, each and every one of us has something that we specialize in. It's something that we can, give to the world to help somebody. I don't care if it's water painting or if it's how to draw or if it's how to fix a computer or if it's selling on eBay or how to write, how to public speak. There's something that you could teach somebody else. And one thing I also want to talk about as well is don't, just conquer this massive topic. You could break it down. You could really niche down and solve a specific problem. I mean, especially with the internet, you could connect with customers, long-tail customers, so much easier than 10, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, think about it. Think about my book, 101 Killer Clothing Brands. What are the odds that I'd be able to sell 1,000, 2,000 copies, 10, 15 years ago without the internet? Whereas I actually did that, and I sold a good amount of these books, and I connected and helped a ton of people, and I really have to thank that to the internet. So, I mean, if you're looking to create a book, make sure, one, it solves a problem and you offer a solution, and also I would really niche down, break it down to solve a specific problem. You don't have to write the whole handbook on eBay or Amazon or Craigslist. Break it down and, solve a specific problem, and that's really going to help you out a lot to be able to tackle this whole process, and you're not going to get overwhelmed and think, I've got to write 500 pages, 600 pages. I mean, you could easily write a 15, 20,000 word count book and really help somebody and make a difference. So hopefully that helps, and that's tip number 1. All right, guys, so tip number 2 in terms of how to write your first book. After you've figured out what you want to write the book on and your topic and the solution you're going to offer to the problem, the next thing you want to do is create an outline. And pretty much how I like to do this is I like to break down the actual topic into different bullet points. So I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but I'm actually currently writing a book, creating a book called Pawn Shop Profits, which is going to be a book teaching people how to make money buying and selling from pawn shops. And it's going to be way more than a book. There's going to be different tiers. There's going to be videos. That's a whole nother story, but I just want to give you some context. I'm writing a book on pawn shops and how to make money, and what I did is I broke it down into different bullets. So for example, one of the bullets was how to find pawn shops. Another bullet was creating relationships at pawn shops. Another bullet was negotiating at pawn shops. Another bullet point was taking advantage of the changing seasons and making money with pawn shops. So those are just some random examples. So what I did was I thought about the actual problem I was trying to solve, and I broke it down into all these different bullet points. And pretty much essentially those bullet points is what created my outline. And I got 10, 15, 20 bullet points, which in turn turned them into chapters. So once you get all that pretty much nailed down, the next thing you're going to want to do once you have the outline is to actually take each bullet point and break it down even further. So for example, with my pawn shop chapter on negotiations, I broke that down into bundling, I broke that down into offering cash, I broke that down into a whole bunch of different things. So hopefully you're able to really see what I'm talking about now. And the reason why you want to break down those bullet points into even more subsections is because when you actually sit down to write, it makes the writing process so much easier when you have all the main points you want to hit. And literally all you have to do is just think about it and just write it down instead of trying to figure out, all right, well, what's going to be chapter 2, what's going to be chapter 3, and then thinking, okay, now what are the main points I want to hit? When you have this outline like this with the main bullet points and then all the subsection points you want to hit, it makes writing so much quicker, so much easier, and it allows you to focus more on your creativity versus thinking about like I said, like what's chapter 2, what's chapter 3, and trying to figure out if you're going to hit all the points or not. So make sure once you solve the problem 1 to go on to your outline number 2 and then break it down as thorough as possible. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to help you out a ton. All right, so tip number 3 when it comes to writing your first book, and this is the important part, this is really the meat and potatoes right here, is to write your first draft. You want to get started. So you've already got the outline, the bullet points, the subsections. The key right now is to write your first rough draft. And a few tips I want to give you with this is, first of all, when you're writing your first draft, don't get all crazy and beat yourself up in terms of like vocabulary and like specific words you're using and grammar and commas and all these different things. Just write, write, put it out there. Don't be going back and forth and changing and mixing things up. That's not the point of this exercise. Your rough draft, the point of it is to just get all the content out there. And I'll tell you right now, if you guys were to read any of my previous books or even my pawn shop book that I'm working on now and different things, you would think that I was absolutely a lunatic based on my writing skills because it's so much chicken scratch. A lot of it doesn't even make sense, the first rough draft, but the point really is to get it out there. And once you go through your second draft, your third draft, the editor looks at it, it comes together, trust me. So make sure that you're not like spending a lot of time revising everything. Just get your content out there and get that first rough draft out there. And another thing is the key, and this is something that I found really helps a lot, is to make a schedule or kind of like figure out times that you're gonna write each and every day. So example, with this pawn shop book that I'm writing, my goal is to go to the library each and every day and write at least 1,000 words. Now that's just my goal. Maybe for you it's 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000, but for me it's going every day and writing at least 1,000 words. If I do that, I'm a success in my mind and I'm feeling good. One more thing to mention as well is try to figure out the times that you're like most creative. Like when are the times that you feel like writing most? You're super passionate, like it's easy, you're just flowing, like figure out those times. For me personally, it's right in the morning, about an hour and a half after I wake up, after I do some exercise, have some breakfast. Like that's like my power time. That's when I feel like it's easiest for me to be passionate and get my words flowing out there. And another thing as well is try to figure out like, after what duration do you feel like your passion and like your writing just kind of goes downhill? After like about an hour for me, about after 1,000, sometimes 1,500 words, I just feel like I lose my passion and I'm not like operating at that super high level. So definitely keep that in mind as well. But if you do that and you set a schedule and you write X amount of words per day, whether it's 500 or 200 or 1,000 or 5,000, and you consistently do that over time, you're going to get the content out there and your book is going to get written. And at that point, you're going to have the rough draft. Now, tip number four is make sure that you do multiple revisions. So like I said, don't be revising during your first draft. That's not the goal of that exercise. But once you do have that first draft down, make sure you go through it a second time and even a third time to kind of really start to like build clarity in terms of what you're communicating. And you can start switching up the words and the flow and all these different things and really dive into it. But make sure to go in that second, third time because it's super powerful. And every time I do that, I gain new insights. I find ways to add more value, become more creative, and things really start to come together. And the fifth tip, and we've kind of already talked about this, once you've got your rough draft down and the second, third revisions are done, make sure you hire an editor. I don't care who you are, unless you're like some top-notch, hotshot, just amazing student and you're great at writing and editing. Maybe you don't have to, but for me or for any average Joe out there, hire an editor because they're really good at what they do. It's their expertise. It's kind of like trying to do taxes on your own. Could you do it? Can you figure it out? I'm sure you could. There's resources out there, but it's going to take you a ton of time and you're probably just not going to do it as well as the editor or the CPA or whatever expert you're looking to hire. So hopefully that helps as well. And a few other things I wanted to mention. These aren't really tips. But you can use like audio software. I know a lot of people, they're not like big into writing and they hate writing. There's softwares out there which will allow you to be able to speak into it and then it'll shoot out the text like on a computer or some program. And then you could take that and then you could revise it or hand it to your editor. So that's just another tip. But personally, I just use Word. That's what I use. Like I'll even use Google Docs sometimes or just a Word pad and I'll just type it out and that's how I like to operate. I mean, it works for me, but at the end of the day, you need to figure out what works for you. But just to recap, number one, make sure that your book topic actually solves a problem, right? Offer a solution to the reader. If you've got a YouTube following or a Facebook group or you're active on some type of social media, survey people, right? Survey the followers who are watching you and ask them, what can I offer you? What kind of book could I create that would, solve a problem for you? And you'll learn real quick what people want and what you could offer them that they'd actually buy and would actually add value to their life, because that's really what matters. Tip number 2, after you figure out your topic and you solve a problem for somebody, create the outline. Like I said, I like to start with the big fat bullet points and then break those down. So those will be like the subcategories of the chapter. Number 3, write your rough draft. Don't beat yourself up. Don't try to like make it perfect and just make it 100% flawless your first time around. It doesn't work like that. Just get the rough draft done. Make a schedule, go Monday through Friday, write at least 1,000 or 200 words, whatever it is for you, whatever keeps you energetic and passionate and what you can do. Start small, but make sure to be consistent, write it, get it out there. Number 4, once you got the rough draft done, make sure to go through a second, third, fourth revision. Tip number 5, hire an editor. Don't try to play all the roles. Focus on your strengths, which is putting the content out there, and hire somebody else to do the other stuff, whether it's the graphic design for the cover, your editing, your marketing, all the other stuff that kind of goes along with writing a book, which we'll talk about more of that in another video. But hire an editor if you can. Like I mentioned, if you're not a big writer, you can get some types of software that will allow you to be able to speak into it, and then it'll spit out the text, and then you could revise that and give it to your editor. But again, I just use Word or WordPad, Google Docs to write my stuff, and I just keep it simple. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. You can check me out on social media, Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, obviously YouTube. I'm all over the place, so follow me. I'd love to help you out. And if you guys have any comments or questions, drop it down in the comments section, and I'll be in there talking to you guys and helping you out. So thanks again, and I'll see you soon. Bye.